So, this is a interview with Michael Mentessi. Michael is a bit of a serial entrepreneur. He might not describe himself as such, but you'll learn from listening to the interview that he's always got a project on the go. And more recently, he's taken a brave step to, rather than just having it as a side project, making it his main focus. Um, since time of recording, Michael's moved away from the record store and is now focusing on the record lathe. Um, if you are interested in this, then I'll make sure that I link to where you can reach it. From this conversation, I learned a lot, as I always do, but the main thing that I took away from this was if you're asking someone for help, then the more you do to help yourself to start with, the better place that person is to really leverage their skill and knowledge to help you. So rather than thinking that you can't do something and giving up or asking for help straight away, if you can try and help yourself to the best possible point, then you're achieving a higher level from which to build a foundation on to continue to grow and learn from there. So rather than just helping you at quite a superficial level, the person can then leverage a deeper level of their understanding and help you to progress further and faster. So here it is, episode 2, Michael Mentessi. Hope you enjoy. Please subscribe, share, like. It all helps with reach. And I'd love to know what you think and hear your thoughts and feedback. Thanks a lot. Enjoy. Michael, welcome. Thanks for being on the show.
No worries.
As you know, name of the show is What Do You Do? And it's a bit of an exploration around what you're doing now, what you've done in the past, and your journey from where you were to where you are, essentially. So our first question is always, Michael Mentessi, what do you do?
What do I do? I mean, at the minute, a little bit of a lot of things, which I kind of always have done a bit, but I guess predominantly I'm doing 3 days a week in a record shop. And that's a record shop that I helped to establish with a friend. He's been doing it for a while and wanted to open a London store, but needed some help doing it. And so I was involved in literally from an empty warehouse building that was used to store food to turning it into a fully fledged record shop filled with music and looking like something that people would want to spend time in rather than a grey box. I also, as part of my strange series of life decisions at the minute, also own a machine that can cut records. So that was sort of the thing that I thought I would be doing most this year, and the record shop has taken a lot of time as well. So it's probably about a 50-50 split between working on learning the trade for cutting vinyl for people and then selling records. Basically, my whole life is music at the minute.
Right, where do I go next? Because I'm really interested in the lathe thing, actually. Let's dive into that, because it's for me, it's really weird when you first started telling me about like creating and cutting records, because we've gone from digital music. Well, we've gone from records to tapes that you could then record yourself really easily and create yourself, to CDs, which you could very quickly burn yourself very easily. Everyone had the technology for all of this stuff. And now we've kind of gone full circle, but it seems to be more complicated to create a record than it's been to create particularly digital media, but CDs or tapes before.
Yeah, I mean, in many ways, it's completely bonkers and a bit of a crazy thing to do. But actually, the decision to go down this road was not one I made sort of just off the cuff. So I've been collecting records for, I don't know, 25 years or so, and I saw over recent years the sort of style of music that I like. I love UK garage, I love underground UK music. I saw that a lot of the artists were doing these really limited runs of like 30 records or 50 records. And from the time that because I follow like the scene quite closely, I sort of saw that these quite expensive records as well. So you're talking about a record with one track on each side that would command £30-35 from the artist. So not cheap either.
Yeah.
And they went from sort of taking maybe a month to sell out, it seemed like, to selling out within 24 hours, to selling out before they was even released.
Wow.
And I'm like, there's demand for this. And the artists, it's weird. It's like, it's the best of both worlds. So if you can cultivate a following online, digitally, then you can create like your hardcore, you can identify who your hardcore fans are.
Yeah.
Ones who are willing to pay almost anything to get the freshest, latest music. And I saw more and more labels doing it, more and more people cropping up doing it, and more and more artists getting involved in it. But actually the number of people doing the cutting is not increasing exponentially, because access to the kit is really difficult to get, and it's like it is a trade. You've got to learn how to do it. It's not you buy the machine, press play, and it works. And so I thought, actually, if you look at what the environment's telling you, like Spotify stopped paying out money for streams under, I think it was, if you have less than 1,000 streams, you don't get a penny anyway. So they stopped paying out artists. They're really pushing AI generated music and actually stripping out music from their most successful playlists. So even if you're on one of their most successful playlists, they could swap you out for an AI generated song. And so I thought, actually, the way to make money is, obviously digital's not going anywhere. It is the way to go. If I was a DJ gigging, I wouldn't want to be carrying records around. But if you're an artist and you need to make money and you want to do that, then actually there are people out there willing to support you. And I could be the person who, there's nothing better than giving an artist who's never had their music on vinyl. Like how they respond to that is like, yeah, it makes me feel emotional, man. Like, yeah. I've never felt as proud of anything I've ever done. You know, and I think that to be that person who can connect artists and their audience in a way that means they can make money and make it sustainable, but without, I don't make music, but I'm a nerd and I'm a geek and I love the tech. And actually lots of musicians aren't as nerdy about this sort of stuff as I am. So it feels like a happy sort of musical menage a trois sort of thing.
There's got to be, I think, it feels like there's something in the tangibility of it, because everything is so digital now.
Yeah, I've been in the shop. I get people come in. Obviously, one of the best things about the shop, and the shop is a great synergy for me, right? Because people coming in the shop are DJs playing the freshest music. Everyone wants the latest thing. So I'm talking to the people who are after the thing that I can supply in many respects. And if lots of DJs are also producers. So again, there's an opportunity there. And I say to a lot of the younger crowd, like, if you're emailing, name any big DJ, an MP3 of your tune, how many people are doing the same thing, right? So let's just say that mailbox is getting absolutely hammered full of music every week. How much time have they got to listen to? Are they listening to it all? I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure there are some of them who are, but I'm sure there's a lot of them who aren't. And like everything, it can be an element of who you know, and they might pick certain stuff to listen to just because they've only got so much time, right? And it's not fair to expect anyone to listen to absolutely everything that they get sent. And I don't think anyone in the music industry has ever, like maybe some people do, but I think that there's always a ceiling on this. But if you know a big name is DJing in a club and you walk down to that DJ booth and you give them a record and go, I had this cut to give to you, they are listening to it 100%. Yeah. If they're a vinyl head, if someone gives me a record, a white label, and I don't know what's on it, and they say to me, you'll like this, I can't wait to play it. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just different emotionally, and I think that like it's I'm not one of these people saying vinyl's better. I'm not saying that it's a dead format in many respects. Absolutely, like I said, it makes absolutely no sense. It's environmentally questionable. Although the records that I cut not as bad as like things have been in the past. But I do think it's still a great way for people to make a name for themselves, to make some money, to make something tangible that will live on. Digitally. I can, websites that I visited when I was younger are no longer around. So digital is not permanent. I've lost music on hard drives. I know lots of artists lose music on hard drives.
Yeah.
Like I've never lost a record. Like I can't find certain records because I've got so many. But I've never actually permanently lost a record because it's in your collection, right?
Yeah.
And if I wanted to sell my collection tomorrow, someone would buy it, and all of those records would live on. And so it's just different. And yeah, I just thought after 20 odd years of listening to it, playing it, buying it, cleaning it, I might as well start making it as well.
Nice. Brings us nicely actually then to, as you said, you've been into music for the last 20 years, but it's only been recently, like the last year or so, that you've taken a step into creating records and a record shop. So what were you doing up until that point? What was your past life?
But predominantly for the past 10 years ish has been like tech and project management and agile delivery, like tech related project management stuff. Depending on who you're doing it for, there's different buzzwords and jargon that go with that.
Yeah.
So like I've done a lot of transformation work in government. Transformation in government is usually a synonym for bringing in tech and getting rid of people. Basically digitizing stuff that was taking up time and effort that could just be improved. Obviously some of that is good, some of that is not so good. I've also worked for like consultancies doing work for like big companies. I've worked for vicariously through agencies for companies like Volkswagen, legal firms, like all sorts of industry, really. Aviation. So I did a lot of work in the aviation industry through an agency as well. So yeah, I've worked in private, public sector, local gov, central gov. Basically, I tried out absolutely everything I could that I thought might be interesting in the vain hope of any of it sticking, and none of it stuck, I think.
So by most measures, you've been really successful career-wise. Why the change? What was it?
Yeah, I think I pretty much got to the point where I was earning as much money as anyone could earn without any real direct management responsibility, which was good for me. Yeah, I've done contracting on, fairly healthy day rates. It's just soulless to me. I've often felt that like I'm doing a job that's sort of semi-redundant in a way that like I don't really understand why some of the project management work is even needed. You're treating adults like children, chasing them to do their jobs, having to be the in-between between the business and project teams because for some reason people can't talk to each other. And just really managing like all of the nonsense that goes with like all the nonsense and difficulty that goes with like enacting big change in companies, and just all the politics that goes with it. And I just was burnt out, to be honest with you. Yeah, I just had enough of it. I left school at 16, but was working almost full time in the evenings from 15, and I'm 42, 43, just a few weeks ago. Like you do the maths, I've been, I don't know, what's that, 26 years or something, 25 years, I don't know, of working, sometimes more than one job.
Yeah.
Especially with the project management work, like it could be you're always on a deadline. Been on a deadline for something big to be delivered for the last 10 years and not really enjoyed any of it, don't get me wrong, met some amazing people, made some great friends. Like, I've spent some, been on holiday with people that I've met through work. Like, still in touch with lots of people that I've met through various jobs. Like, some great people, like that. Like, my life is better for having them in it. But I wish I met them in a pub rather than having to meet them by going through some of the workplaces that we've been through, sort of thing.
Yeah. Did it ever work well anywhere? Was there any at any point was there any particular cultures that helped the change?
Yeah,
Were there any themes where it particularly didn't work well in certain circumstances?
yeah. It's frustratingly, I had like snippets of like the best jobs I've ever had.
Mm.
I worked for an agency called Blue Spot, really small agency. I lasted 2 years there. The agency essentially disbanded in the end, through other, like, money basically was the bottom line there. There was internally there was a bit of a strange situation that occurred, and a few people disagreed with it and voted with their feet. But for the 2 years that I was there, mate, it's the best place I ever worked. Worked with the smartest people I've ever met. Worked on some of the most interesting projects I've ever worked on. Met some of the most amazing people outside of like through the agency, like our clients, like just some amazing people. Got to, yeah, like just it was mad, to be honest with you. It was an amazing time, and I thought that when once I got my feet under the table there and felt confident, I thought, mate, this is it. Like, I could just stay here. Like, it doesn't feel like, well, I'd stay. Like, I never felt like I stayed late, but like I never really wanted to leave either. Like, I would be there after work chatting, talking about what, like, I've never worked anywhere where you could talk about work all day long and it'd be fun and interesting constantly. And doing work for clients who you just wanted to work for. Like, I wanted all of the people that we were working with to be successful, I really felt like we were great. Like, I don't know, we really advocated for them and worked for them like we were invested in the company. And I suppose in a way you could say we were, because we're building stuff for them. But we really were invested.
What was that kind of golden thread? What was that nugget? What was it that made everything so good there?
I think it's just being surrounded by people who are really good at what they do. Like, project management there was really more client management.
Mm.
Like, we weren't always the easiest agent. We weren't a you do, what sort of, we say to you, we tell you, you do agency.
Mm.
Yeah. If we get asked to build things, we would question why.
Right.
And we would want to solve the real underlying problems and really get to the heart of what it was that they were trying to do and help them do that in the best way possible. But that means there'd be friction, right? Because it's like, they're paying us, I don't know, for a very small team of like 3 people, maybe paying 12 grand a week to build them something. And then they come in, they're paying all this money, paying hundreds of thousands of pounds over the life of an engagement. And they say, right, I want you to do this. And we'd be like, why? And then they say, like, no, that's a terrible idea. And then be like, what do you mean? And then it's like then dealing with that. And then dealing with the friction, even for knowing where, like, sometimes you have just got to do it because they're going to win business for it. And it's like, how can we do it in the best way so that they can still win the business, but we're not going to build stuff completely, without any point to it, and also something that is not going to cause us issues like later on, sort of thing. That we're not going to create work we've got to undo. Yeah.
So was there a particular leader in that organisation who embodied that culture, and that's where it came from, do you think?
I don't think it was anyone in particular. It was just everyone was great. Like, shout out to Neil Atkinson, who taught me everything I know about everything, really, when it comes to work. Like, I never learned, I learned more from Neil than anyone else. Ian Beeston, again, like, all these people were challenging to work with in their own ways. Ian was a pain in the arse a lot of the time to work with. But again, I learned more from him than lots of people, Mark as well. I don't know. Yeah, like, just learned a lot from these people. James, who sort of head everything up. James was a great guy, great at sales. I think it's like everyone had their own set of skills, and they just really, you didn't tread on each other's toes. But there was times there where I could ask a question, I get three different completely valid answers, but they're all valid, and it's like it's sort of like you decide, you know. And we're all going to come with trade-offs and pros and cons, and you weren't. Yeah, you were just everyone treated each other like with respect, and it was just how things were there. Really, it's the main frustration as to why after that every job just felt not anywhere close to as good.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, it's definitely something have learned recently, and it's coming out more and more in these interviews that I do, that there is no such thing as a perfect solution, right? Everything in life and everything in business is a compromise. It's just what is the best compromise at that time.
Yeah, I often say to people with my approach to things that almost think one of my best skills as a project manager is just the ability to make decisions.
Yeah.
I'm happy to make the wrong decision.
Yeah.
Like I don't dwell on things. Like sometimes in the absence of like the right decision presenting itself and someone making a case for something, progress is progress. And things are always going to go wrong. So as long as you're moving forward at all times, then you can't really make mistakes because hindsight is 20/20. So you can't be beating yourself up that you made the wrong decision 2 weeks ago because of information that's come to light today.
Yeah.
I'm cool with that. And I think that's like, once you learn that and you feel comfortable with it, like lots of people beat themselves up when things go wrong. And like, it's just not worth it unless there is genuinely something you could have done. If there is something you could have done, then just make sure it don't. Everyone makes mistakes. If you keep making them, then maybe you're a numpty. But if there are lots of different ones, and you're learning, then it's just how it is, isn't it? I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think a lot of people fail to realise that not making a decision is still a decision. You're deciding not to act. And that's just the worst possible decision you can make.
Yeah, I think as well, like, even just like asking the question, like, do we even have to do this? Right. Sometimes it's really helpful. Like, do we have to make a decision right now?
Yeah.
Can we postpone it? Can we do something else for a week and then come back to this when we know more? Just thinking creatively. I think it's like, don't be penned in to make a decision, definitely. And sometimes just encouraging the right conversations is really useful. And I think that, again, that's something that I think I try to help people do as much as possible.
Yeah. Nice. So when was the point? When did you go, right, enough is enough, I'm done with this?
I think it was probably about a week into my last job.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 weeks. Yeah. I think I had some pretty bonkers conversations with people. And I just thought, so what had happened was, I think if I rewind, so 2 jobs before that, I think it was, I'd gone somewhere thinking this will be different. I was sort of led to believe it would be different. And it was the same. Then I got a phone call from a recruiter saying, look, we've got a position that we think would be perfect for you. Come and work for us. And then I went there, and it was not the same, but it was not good in different ways.
Right.
And then I went to my previous job, and just in the first couple of weeks, I'm like, this is going to be just the same it's just Groundhog Day, just with different characters, right? And I haven't got Bill Murray to at least lighten the mood at all. It's like it's just going to be a grind. And so I'd say in the back of my mind for the whole time I was there, which was quite a while. Some people who've had jobs for substantial amount of times would disagree. I mean, I was there for like 19 months, which if you're used to contracting and you're used to agency life, can feel like a lifetime. And actually, the previous gigs before that were only like a year each because it was contracts and stuff like that and an agency. So I was there for a decent stint as far as I was concerned. I delivered a lot, like in the project management, getting stuff over the line sense. I think I was well regarded. There was opportunities there for me if I wanted them, but I just knew that I didn't want them. You know, I think like I've had a lot of other people's dream jobs, just not mine.
So you made the decision. Obviously, then there's stuff standing in your way. There always is. So what was it for you, and how did you overcome
that? So I know what I'm like, and that's like I really love, like a lot of people, I like shiny things and gadgets and tech, and I think having never really owned like a DJ setup at home that I was really happy with, where I wasn't in the back of my mind thinking, oh, I wish I could get this or that. I thought, well, I'm earning good money. Why don't I just buy all the things? So I don't have to think about it. It's never on my mind. I'm going to buy the best set of speakers that I would ever buy. I'm going to buy the best turntables, the best DJ mixers. I'm going to have 2 DJ mixers. I'm going to have 4 turntables. I'm going to have like the full setup. And I know that this might seem a little bit, I don't know what the word is, like maybe materialistic, but I follow like DJ technology and it excites me. And in the past, I would just sell things and buy things. Like even when I wasn't in a privileged position, my mum says she can remember me being a kid at like 15 and being like, I'm going to sell all my toys and I'm going to buy this new thing. You know, I never, it never came for free. Certainly, my background from a very working class family. I've been without, yeah. So I just thought, well, I don't want to be without, and I want to have the nice things. And so if I've got a nice home set up, that's something I won't be thinking about. Because if I'm miserable, I can come home and I have now not got a penny to I am skint right now, yeah. And I can play on a top class setup at home. And that makes me feel good. So that's my mindfulness. I don't have a gym membership. I don't have an expensive car. I don't really have much other than a really nice DJ setup, because that's what's important to me. Yeah. If I was into cars, like I could imagine someone like you get the car that you can tinker on, and then like at the weekends to decompress, and then that would be something that could take your mind off the fact that you've got no money or whatever, whatever it is that ticks a box for you. And definitely for me, DJing is a mindful activity. I've always done it like for the last 20 odd years to relax. It's one of the only things I do that really chills me out. And so I just thought, well, then, if my wife says she wants new gym equipment, that makes perfect sense, right? Because the case for it is clear. It's a physical health. So I knew that the mental health thing was a thing for me. So I did that. That was the easiest thing to solve, I guess.
Yeah.
Then savings as well. Because I kind of knew we was going down this road, or I was going down this road. We've been really, really good at bolstering ourselves against like hardship generally, like the things that we can control. So getting a year ahead on all of our payments. So things like insurance, we don't pay it. We pay it monthly, but we've already paid it. So we're always ahead. So, and we've done that for quite a while. So savings in general, just having money in ISAs that's, doing well for you. Getting ahead on the mortgage, like that's something that as soon as I knew that mortgage rates were as low as they could be, we really leaned into that. Essentially, all the prep work to get to the point where I could take realistically a year to make it work. And so that's a big thing. And I think really networking a bit as well. So I went and met people who've got one of the record cutters, had conversations with them about, could they help me if I get stuck? What do I do if I have a problem? And fortunately, like the music community in general is like A class. I think that's something that we try and do in the shop. If people come in and they need help, we do whatever we can to help people.
Right, because it's really nice one to the next question, which is who is it who helped you along the way? who has helped you to make this transition?
Well, the biggest person is obviously Michelle, my wife, just for being understanding and supportive of this whole craziness. Like, it's massively stressful to do this. Like, and if you can't talk openly about it, and you can't acknowledge that there's going to be hardships, and you can't have some, and you haven't got someone to go through the hardships with who's understanding, then I can imagine like this would all just feel like like I say, this is totally bonkers what I'm doing. Like, if you looked at the numbers, it's not going to stack up. And even if I become massively successful, the numbers still won't ever stack up. But mentally, it does stack up. So, you know, I'm doing the right thing. It's just, yeah, you've got to have someone who's got your back as well, though, you know, or you've got to be able to get yourself in a position where you can do enough of it that you can get that support from elsewhere. Outside of that, like, there's a guy called Chris Dexter at Planet Wax. He's only had a small part in this, but he also really provided lots of inspiration. You know, he's done something amazing in South London with the record shop Planet Wax. It's a record shop, bar, a venue. They cut records for people there. And yeah, I reached out to him. I've always worked on side projects, and me and my friend worked on a silly side project where we made a sort of clubby, ravey card game. And Chris saw it and just was like, I love this. I'm going to stock it in the shop. And I took some over to him, and he's just like, I just love it when people are doing stuff. He's like, I don't even really care if we don't really sell any. It looks great. I like it. I like the fact you've made it. So we're going to do it.
Nice.
And then, yeah, that was my sort of tenuous link to him.
And representation matters, right? If you can see that somebody's been there and done it already, it kind of greases the skids, doesn't it? And you know that there's a market for it.
Yeah. And he was like massively supportive. Like, you could look at it from another way and be like, oh, hang on, you're involved in a record shop and you're cutting records, and he's got a record shop and he's cutting records. Aren't you competition?
Yeah.
And do you know what? Like, I suppose if you look at it from one angle as an outsider, yeah, but we can't compete with what Planet Wax do. Like, they're their own entity. Like, they've got their own, just what, like, anyone in the scene who sees the two stores, who speaks to us and speaks to them, like, our customers go there and their customers come here. Like, their staff come to us, I'll go to them. Like, we're not, like, yeah, I think to outsiders it might sound like I'm competing, but like, you can't compete with them on what they're doing, because they're the best at what they do and we're the best at what we do.
There you go. And there's enough success to go around. There is enough success to go around. I think there is this fallacy: for me to succeed, you have to fail. I have to beat all my competition. And it's just not true, is it?
Yeah. And also, I'd say that, like, just seeing what they're doing from afar, like, again, through digital, right? Just seeing what they're doing from afar has been supportive. Because I'd say outside of Michelle and like the odd person that I see doing stuff, obviously Rob, who has like built Recycle Vinyl, the record shop, into what it is, who has invested like incredibly financially and emotionally into moving the store to London and moving the brand to London, and, you know, doing something that's equally as bonkers, spending loads of money to open a record shop in an economic downturn during a cost of living crisis, selling things that are fully like expendable cash. Like, you know, it's the first thing that gets cut. And we are, it's stressful for him as well. But seeing what he's achieved over the last 4 or 5 years, I think. So he started selling records, sold his own record collection, then bought more records, then bought more records and more records, and then ended up with units filled with records, then ended up with a shop, and then ended up with another shop. When you see somebody who can do that, like, you realise that anything is possible. You've just got to decide to do it.
Yeah. And it's another thing, to be fair. It's that thing of everybody wants to have the noun, but no one wants to do the adjective, right? everyone wants to be a thing, but no one wants to do the work it's going to take to get there. But I think what a
Yeah,
lot of people don't realize is that just by taking a step, just by starting to do it, you are doing it. There is no I'm now the thing. Just taking that first step and taking your first, steps down that road.
yeah,
That's all you've got to do, isn't it?
yeah. You can put tomorrow. I'm an artist. I am an artist. I like tomorrow. You can call yourself an artist tomorrow, but where's your art?
Yeah, yeah,
Are you showing it?
yeah,
You can be anything you want to be, but you've got to be doing it definitely. And I think that's one of the downsides of digital, of social media, of certain things is there's a lot of people talking about doing things or projecting a level of success
yeah,
that they maybe don't have,
yeah,
or you can make it look like you're successful. And also, I would say some of the people that look really successful online doesn't mean they're making any money. What's success?
yeah.
Like I said,
Authentic necessarily.
yeah, exactly. Like I said, financially, like I've made, like by doing this, it's the worst decision I could have ever made. I could have ridden out that job for my last job for another couple of years and banked loads more money, but at what cost?
Yeah,
And then alternatively, now I get to, joke about with a mate 3 days a week, meet some of the most interesting people I've ever met, listen to the music I love all day long, you know, give people records that have got their music on them that they've never had before. Like, I don't know, it's not all financial. Like the money helps, and you know, saving, having some support helps. And I wouldn't advise anyone does any of this just on a whim. But also it's about sacrifice as well. Push comes to shove. Just today, I've uncovered a cost I'm going to incur, and I'm thinking like, what can I sell? What goes? What can I live without to make that happen? You know, I've got our mortgage will go up in June, so I've got to June to be able to bring in enough money to cover the bills.
mm,
And if that means I've got to sell stuff, barring my record collection, as much as I've spent a fair chunk of time talking about how important DJing at home is for my mental health. Going back to my old life is worse for my mental health than not having turntables. If they have to go, they'll go.
yeah.
My record collection will never go, but I'd sell my carpet if it was worth enough money. Genuinely, it wouldn't bother me because you can always buy things back.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. And there's very much that nothing ventured, nothing gained, right?
Yeah, like how much are you willing to do it?
Yeah,
How much are you willing
yeah,
to put your chips in?
yeah,
I'm already, I'm already almost at the point where I'm like putting everything on black and spinning the wheel. It feels like that. Some days it feels like I'm doing that, and there's only one black square on the roulette wheel.
mm,
You know, and like other days, like all you can do to level up the odds is by hard work.
yeah,
And if you're grafting, then you're putting more black squares down, and if you're networking, you're putting more black squares down, and you can tip the odds in your favor. You really can, but
yeah.
you can't do it by being sat on Instagram.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit about sacrifice there. What for you has been the biggest hurdle you've had to overcome?
Just learning how to cut records, like learning how to use a record lathe. Like I knew going into it, everyone says they're really fiddly, they're really difficult. Like the person who sold it to me, Thomas, really, really nice guy. He's like, you do know that this isn't for the faint-hearted. This isn't plug and play. This isn't just gonna work out. It's not an out-the-box thing. Um, you know, Chris at Planet Wax, he's like, they're a pain in the arse, and like everyone is warning you against it. So learning that, I think it's funny. I've been on a call today with a guy who supports people with these machines. A guy called Matt from a company called Spinnertown. Amazing, amazing guy, super friendly, super helpful, and like I can't explain enough how much time I've already put into this to only get to the point where really I just know how the machine works, and I know how to. Initially, I think the first weekend I spent 17 hours straight trying to calibrate it, and I didn't even get close to cutting the record because I was too scared that was going to break something.
Mm.
You know, now I can swap things apart. I've taken almost everything apart. If when something doesn't feel right, I'm kind of getting a sense of where it might be. Troubleshooting, diagnosing. I do not want to know how many hours I've spent on it. Like, I really wouldn't. Like, it's a lot.
Till you get to 20,000, mate. You're not going to be an expert in American Club.
Yeah, like, I'll get there. That's the thing.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. And that's where the value is, right? Because, as you said, it's expensive for people to have the records cut, but that's what they're paying for. They're paying for your skill. They're paying for all of that time and effort you've put into it.
Yeah, definitely. And like, the thing is, I think the thing that I've always thought about music, especially when you're buying records and records that have been cut on these machines, is it really is your business card, right? So how it sounds, you can't fudge that. So if someone's happy with it and it sounds amazing, it sounds amazing. Like, you can't hide bad quality in there.
Yeah.
Obviously, depending on how nerdy you are for this stuff and what equipment you own, like, you'll hear things differently to I will.
Yes. Yeah.
But almost invariably, you know, the majority of people will say this sounds better than that if you A/B something.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that I'm good at what I do. And I know that the only way I can do that is by putting the hours in, by going through the pain, by breaking stuff. I've ruined stuff. You know, one of the diamonds that cuts actually into the record, I'd had it on less than a week and balked it. That's 150 quid down the drain, you know, but that's part of the process. I factored that in, you know. I just knew, I'm going to break stuff. I'm going to balk stuff.
Yeah. But then that goes back to what you were saying. It leads me nice on to the next question, actually, in that it's no different to the career you were doing before. It's having the confidence or having the courage to make mistakes and break stuff, but learn from those mistakes and put in the effort and put in the hours and put in the hard work.
Yeah, like, almost even with something like this, where you can actually break something, break it.
Yeah.
Like, everything's replaceable.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, some things are way more expensive than others. But if you do enough research, like, the most expensive parts on these machines, people break them regularly. You know, like, it's a risk. Like, there's many reasons why it could break by accident. So you have to know it could just happen. And you've got to lean into it a bit. Do your due diligence, do your learning. Yeah, feel comfortable making decisions. I think that it was really nice today. The guy, Matt from Spinnertown, who's been offering me support, sort of said to me, like, wow, when I read your email, I can see you've really gone through it methodically. I wrote a very long email of all the steps I've been through, but that was the project management side, I guess, of my experience coming through, you know, and the transferable skills. Being able to communicate complex things easily, like cutting out some of the waffle, maybe trying to hone in on things, trying to evidence why I think things the way I do. You know, you can imagine you've got a machine with many, many moving parts, and I've got a guy in another part of the country on a video call, you know, so I set up an extra camera so the camera could focus on the things that I was actually talking about, make it easy for him. Go through all the things that I've done and I've tried and why I did them, what I've got concerns about and why I've got concerns about them, and then make it easy for that other person to give you the best of their experience. You know, I always say to people, when you phone IT, say to them, yes, I've tried switching it on and off again. Yes, it's plugged in. Yes, I've tried uninstalling it and reinstalling it. Yes, I've done this. Tell them all the things you've done, because up until the point you do all of that, you're just another numpty who's phoning up with an issue. And 9 calls out of 10, the person who's calling hasn't put any thought in, hasn't put any effort in, and it is one of those silly things. So do some heavy lifting yourself in those situations, and then you get the most out of it, right? Immediately, this guy knows I'm not messing around. I've done a lot of things. I got up, I spent the best part of 4 or 5 hours going through everything again so that I could help him eliminate things from his mind that it might be to speed up the call so that I would get the most value from him. And then they actually had a really good call talking about things that were much more useful for me rather than him having to go through his, not his numpty checklist, but like his sort of his general thing of, well, it's usually this. And I try to cover off as much of that as possible.
Yeah, nice. So there's obviously a load of skill transference for you and stuff you've learned in the past that you're applying now. Are there any particular morals or values that are really important to you that align well with what you're doing now?
I don't know, really. I just think like just doing things is the best thing you can do. And I think I've learned that through lots of little silly side projects that I've done with friends over the years. And if you want to do something, you should just do it, because you never know where it will become useful or helpful. And don't let anyone, I guess, not listening to the naysayers.
Yeah.
Like I said, none of this makes sense if you look at it from a certain angle, none of it makes sense. So if you want to do it, you just need to do it. Don't look for outsiders' justifications and validation of your idea. And it's one of the things is that no one really cares. Like maybe your parents care, but no one else really cares. And even your parents, my mum and dad haven't got a clue what's going on.
Yeah.
Like in my life, really, like with all of this, like what is really involved in it. They offer me a lot of support, like emotional support, and they could offer me, they'd probably offer me financial support if I really needed it, and they'd be there for me. But they don't get what I'm doing in the way that has justified the decisions that I've made. And it would be stupid for me to expect it. And no one gets as enthusiastic about the things that I'm doing than me. I think that's one thing, is like you've got to learn you're on your own with it, really. Like it's, if anything, it is lonely sometimes,
Yes.
Because like, who do I talk to about this? Like, because it's not just this. Yeah, I could talk to the Chris at Planet Wax. So go talk to him about cutting, and we could chat about cutting. We could chat about music. Rob, I talk to Rob every weekend about cutting and music. But no one's really going to get your motivations and your drivers and your mental roadmap.
Yes.
I've got a mental roadmap. I know where I need to be when I need to be there. I know the things that I've got to be doing, and like no one's really cheerleading that, really. Like Rob has been really supportive, probably more, and he's more able to be supportive because he gets it more than anyone else. Like he understands the industry and understands the machines and things. So and that is welcome, like having somebody there. But yeah, like you're doing it for you, really, and for your own happiness, and then that happiness, that happiness will rub off and affect positively my life, right? So I'll be a better husband, I'll be a better son, because I'm happier, and it will benefit other people, but no one really gets it. I've had it with I used to feel really disappointed when I'd have a really good idea and like no one seemed to care. I'd be like, but this thing, and you're getting all excited, and like people are like, I don't really know what you're talking about, or whatever, it sounds great, you should definitely do that. And you can just tell, like they're just like, their eyes glaze over, or it goes over their head, and it's like, well, why does it matter? I don't care. Like some of the most stupid things I've done have made me the happiest. And like I can feel success from selling a stupid rave card game, like just selling a copy of that. When you sell something to a stranger, you've never met them before, they've gone to a website and bought something because they're like, wow, this is hilarious. We've got them on the counter in the shop and people don't know that we made them. Sometimes we tell them, most of the time we don't tell them. And you hear people talk about something you've made and they're like, wow, this is brilliant, check this out. Like I don't care that everyone can think it's a bad idea. That if 99 people think it's a terrible idea, for the one person that gets it and then responds to it in that way, it makes you feel better than anything else. But they're responding to the output.
Yes. Yeah.
When it's your idea and you're thinking it through and you're trying to do it and you're telling people, everyone thinks you're mad. So, I think you just got to be resilient. know that things fail. We've not broken even on that game by any stretch of the imagination. It cost us more than we'll likely make for quite a while. We'll probably break even eventually. But like I say, from that, it's just the way people respond to it has paid for it. You know, it wasn't a big investment. This is the other thing. How much are you willing to lose? You know, with that, I was willing to. We had the conversation. How much are you willing to lose? And I'm willing to lose £1,000. At that time, it seemed like that's a lot of money. I appreciate it's a lot of money, but to see something, to actually end up having, you know, a physical copy of a game that you've designed yourself with a couple of friends, to me, it was worth it.
Yeah.
You know, so
you had a clear roadmap for that, and you said you've got a clear roadmap in your head for the next journey. Are you happy to share that with us? What does that look like?
Well, I mean, I have to be covering the bills by the next financial year. Again, I'd say one thing I didn't really think through is I've been earning good money for 3/4 of a financial year, and then I'm not earning good money for the rest of the financial year. But the tax man still taxes you as if you've been earning good money for the whole year. So that was probably a bit of a blind spot for me, like, because it means that I'm pretty much earning nothing. But then I've got buffers elsewhere, and I'm, you know, luckily Michelle was being massively supportive of me as well, and things like that. So survive to the new tax year is step one. You know, get my first customer for cutting records, which I've already achieved. Nice. I've got a backlog of customers already, but I'm encountering separate issues, which is like the learning of where all this is going. So I'm by no means comfortable with like having enough work coming in. Get the record shop as successful as possible. With the record shop, we're really trying to support new artists, new DJs, opening up that space, opening up the record shop for them to use it. So they have the ability to book, but I'm doing all the booking. So I'm handling bookings. I've created a WhatsApp group chat for promoting, and I've been pushing a load of like newer artists who want to get out there and play to come along and take part in stuff in the shop. So want to get that to the point where we've got like a full roster of stuff, and it's kind of running itself a bit more. At the moment, there's a lot of effort outside of working in the shop. Expanding the shop, like we were on a really tight deadline to get the shop open. So within the first 6 months, we'd like to expand the shop back, get more stock out, just improve the thing. We had to make an awful lot of compromises to get the shop open. And that's because until it's a shop, we were under a different type of business rates. So we needed to get onto a cheaper business rates, which you can if you're in retail. But the shop had to exist. So we had to make compromises. Like, there are things that I'm not happy with. There are things that Robert isn't happy with. But it was like, you make those compromises, get it open, get it working, and then you've got your immediate to-do list, you know? So get those things sorted. Yeah, really, most of it's related around improving, growing, and surviving, I think.
So far, is it turning out the way you planned?
I didn't really know what to expect, to be honest with you. My gut feel for where the shop was going to be, it's definitely happening. Like, I knew that the shop was the location was right. I wasn't completely sold on the actual spot itself, but it turned out like it exceeded all my expectations. Like, that was really Rob's vision. Yeah. I just helped him deliver on his vision, really. Like, I did all the painting, did all the decorating, laid the floors, you know, did everything I could to help, you know, get what was needed done. Really, and that was mostly just lots and lots of time. And I thought that the shop would be successful, but you just never know. It's a gamble, right?
Yeah.
But we had our busiest weekend that we've had so far, so like things moving in the right direction there. With the cutting, I've had my gut instinct about it reinforced by some of the feedback I've had. And again, the music industry is really supportive, right? So when people know what you're doing, know how you're going about it, everyone knows someone who wants something cut, and people are coming forward and saying, yeah, we can do something together, we can do something together. And that's established artists and new artists alike. So yeah, I think I have been surprised by that to some degree, although it wasn't anything it wasn't anything I was convincing myself of before. I'm just sort of surprised that maybe some of the things that I had no real evidence to support have come true.
Nice.
So it's been a nice it's been surprising in a good way.
Nice. A little bit of a, if you build it, there will come, and they've started coming.
Yeah, essentially, like everything is a bit of a leap of faith, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like if you do anything new and you don't know what's going to stick. I think like what people don't always consider is if you ask anyone in the music industry who signs new artists, who did they miss out on?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, oh yeah, I can remember when, you know, Aphex Twin sent me his first album. I stuck it in the bin, thought it was rubbish.
Yeah.
And then it goes on to be massive. You ask someone in publishing, you know, how many times was J.K. Rowling's passed on? You know, now look, she's a billionaire. Yeah. The industry doesn't know for sure either.
Yeah.
So, like, don't think that they, like, obviously they're playing a numbers game. So, that, you know, a publishing house will back so many horses, and they're used to, you know, they understand, like, the form. So their ability to guess is a bit better than the lay person's, usually.
Yeah.
But they make mistakes. They pass on big stuff. Movies, you know, stuff that you look at flops, like massive, you know, what you think some 140 million, 200 million flop. Like, you telling me all those people were spending 200 million thinking, oh, this is going to be a flop. Of course they weren't. They thought it was going to be massively successful. So they don't know.
Yeah.
So if they don't know, who can you trust?
I think it's so set up to continue to produce what they've always done before. You know, as you said, there's a formula, and if you fit within that formula, you're good. But if you don't, that doesn't mean you're not going to be successful. It just means that you're an outlier, and that can be a really, really good thing.
Yeah, like look at how many children's fantasy books were signed after Harry Potter.
Yeah,
you know, I bet you the number went through the roof.
Yeah,
I bet it started a real trend.
Well,
you see it.
Much the same with old Richard Osman and the Murder Club books. There's so many of those. So he's created a new genre of book.
Yeah, it's because they don't know. They're waiting to be told. And who tells them? People. And no one knows people. Like, not really.
Yeah.
I've met people. They're all over the place, mate. You know, I still don't understand why Harry Potter is such a success at all. Like, in my opinion, the films were absolutely terrible. The acting's terrible. People love it.
Yeah.
Who am I?
Yeah.
Just a person with an opinion, just another person.
Yeah.
You know, if you think there's something in it, and your gut is telling you you should be doing it, then you should be doing it, and maybe you're right, and maybe no one else really knows. And you know, always seek out like-minded people.
Yes.
But there's no harm in that. And someone who's been on a very similar journey to you, there'll be crossovers, definitely. Like, they'll be able to help you out. And there's lots of people out there who will help you and are willing to talk to you. I think that's the thing as well. You'll be surprised if someone just gets in touch with you and says, I've got this idea, like, can you help me? Then it takes a hard person to go, no, sorry, I'm not even going to really give you the time of day. Like, I've never had that happen to me.
Even then, to be fair, I have. Launching this, I've reached out to a lot of people, and some of them have said, no, I'd rather not. And that's okay too. You know, it's not for everyone. Thank you for getting back to me. That's fine. I understand. It's just, at least then it's an avenue that you're not going to continue to explore and waste your time on.
Yeah, and people's time is precious, right? Time is the only thing. Like, time is the thing.
Yes.
You know, so everyone's time is precious. And different people value different things, right? So I think I see something like this as valuable because, mate, I wish I'd have done it sooner. And I don't know whether I could have. I don't know. And I'm not going to lose any sleep over it or dwell on it or look at it as a regret. But at the same time, maybe if someone sees conversations like this, it might be the thing that tips them over the edge, right? Everyone's got their own thing that tips them over the edge, and they're like, actually, I'm going to do it now.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I don't know. I spent a lot of time reading all that sort of stuff though, and I don't know. It still took me forever.
Yeah, but as you said, it happens when it's right for you. It needs to be the
Yeah,
right time. It's not just having the right thing, the right opportunity, the right circumstances. It needs to be the right time as well. It needs to be that perfect storm of things.
yeah, definitely. It's
So,
and yeah, it's just and it's hard, right? When stuff comes up, like you get past a certain age, and like people in your family start dying, and
mm,
like big events happen, and you want to get married, or you want to have kids, or you want to buy a home, and like you can't like I say, how much are you willing to sacrifice? My
yeah,
wife
yeah,
said some crazy stuff like to like, oh, should we could sell the house and maybe we could do, and I'm like, whoa, no, that's probably a step too far for me, like for my own ideas. Like I'm actually incredibly risk averse in many ways. It may not seem like it, but like everything has to, I feel like I have to have thought everything through and made a plan and feel comfortable with it, because I also know I don't want to regret it.
mm,
Like, and if at the end of the year I've got to go back to work, I would be gutted, but I wouldn't regret this year.
yeah,
Like, like opening the record shop with Rob, being part of that journey, being part of his journey, painting that whole place, getting everything ready for customers, sorting out all the records, bringing all the vinyl down from up north, and just doing it was like the opportunity of a lifetime, and was just an insane buzz.
yeah,
So like I won't ever regret doing that.
yeah.
Even if it doesn't work out, like, and I won't see it as failing. It's not. It won't be. It'll be because of. It will just be because it had run its course, or because it wasn't viable, or because of whatever it is, whatever the thing is that means you run out of steam, or.
Mm.
But yeah, I like
But it sounds
regret
like there's
when you
been.
don't do things.
Sorry, yeah, no, absolutely. Regret the things you don't do rather than the things you do. Learn from the things you do, whether they're
Yeah,
successful or not, by whatever measure. But yeah, regret the things you don't do, absolutely. So it sounds like there's been quite a lot of benefits. What have been the costs? Obviously, there's been the financial costs that you've talked about, but emotional, psychological, what's been the cost?
yeah. It's been like I got really run down and ill. Like I was working like some of the days that like over a space of 2 days, I worked like 29 hours straight. Like we did we do 7 days a week. We were like just physically lifting. Like I have helped move over 20,000 records like in the space of a couple of days, lifting. But we call it the moving game. We're playing the moving game again, and things get moved around. We've moved tens of thousands of records upstairs to a room, only to have to move them down again, because that's just the order of things to get a shot ready.
Yeah.
You move, like physically, that's been incredibly draining. Emotionally, on top of that, like you question, are you doing the right thing?
Mm.
I still question, am I doing the right thing? I don't know what the right thing is really. Like it's not really a fair question, but am I doing the same thing?
Mm.
I don't know. When I can't afford to go into a shop and buy a coffee and a sandwich in certain shops that I used to go in all the time, you're like, is that okay? Like, should I feel all right about that? Like things that I never had to think about. Now I
Yeah.
have to think about all of them.
Mm.
But then, yeah, I don't know.
I mean,
Yeah,
someone
but
did
yeah,
say
it's
to me
really hard.
when you when you're at that point where you are doubting yourself the most, that's when you should push through because that's probably when you're onto something. And I like that sentiment.
Yeah, yeah. Like also like, there's always something you can be doing.
Yeah.
Always something you can be doing. And one day over just before Christmas, over the winter, the shop was just dead. I was like, "What can I do, Rob?" And he's like, "Well, you've got flyers there. You go out and flyer." I'm like, right, yeah, out on the high street, walking up and down. You try giving out flyers in Dalston, see how they go down, number one, right? There's not a lot of eye contact with people in Dalston because there's a certain sort of edginess to that area, yeah? It's, in many respects, the most interesting, vibrant, like, creative place to be and the shadiest place to be at once, right? It is a real melting pot. From handing out those flyers, I got my first paying customer for cutting records by chatting to a guy on the street. You know,
Yeah.
there's always something you could be doing. You know, and also don't give up on analog. Write letters.
Yeah.
You know, take photos with film. Listen to records. Read books. Like engage with the world like properly.
Yeah. No, absolutely, mate. Will there be a point at which you think, oh, I've made it?
I don't know what that would be. Not really. Like working with someone like Rob is means you can't really ever have a goal because his goalposts are just moving constantly. We could have the most successful shop in London, and he'd want the most successful shop in London and Manchester, and then it'd be and Manchester and Amsterdam and Barcelona and New York and it's never ending. Like it's so when you work with someone like that, it's both inspiring, it's tiring as well, it's hard.
Yeah.
We hadn't even got the shop open, and he was talking about opening another shop. And I was dead. You know, I was dead. I'd spent about 50 hours painting straight. Just all I was doing, you know, going around the bend, pushing a roller up a wall. And we haven't even got a shop open. And there's this guy going, oh, yeah, imagine if we had this in Manchester. Imagine blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, mate, like, I ain't got the headspace for this.
Yeah.
But I also know, like, I'm like, this experience of the record cutter, I really need two, because then if I have downtime on one, I'm never impacted for customers. You know, then you'll end up with two, and then you're like, oh well, if I had a third, I probably could. Now I'm getting good at it. I could probably take on more customers, and then you're like, oh, maybe I could take on an apprentice and teach someone this art as well. And then wouldn't it be great if someone younger, like new to industry, could come along and do this with me, and who's just as excited as I was.
Yeah,
you know. And then you're like, oh, would it be great if we had a studio somewhere where we had all this stuff, so it ain't just in my living room. And then, you know, oh well, maybe if we got a studio, we could have a shop next door, and like we could sell those. And then I can see how it happens. So I don't know. I think when the bills are being paid purely from music related stuff, yeah, that'll be a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll be like, that's when you really, like, the music industry is hard enough to make it in as it is. To make the swap and to pay your bills is not something that, you know, some artists get to do, and they've got to work other jobs. So if I ever get there, that will feel like a big milestone. But it won't, like, success is subjective in that, you know, I'll still be earning a pittance. So it won't, I don't know, like, I'll just be happy. I am just happy.
Nice. What have you learned so far from this experience about yourself generally?
I've learned that this is not like, the universe is a weird place. Like anything is possible, but also be careful what you wish for, I guess, because it has a habit of, I don't know. I think if you're leaning completely into something and all you can think of is that thing and all you're doing is that thing, then things happen. And it can be really surprising just how much the universe can be on your side. And anyone who knows me knows I'm not really into much of, you know, I'll say mumbo jumbo. And I appreciate that's disrespectful to anyone who sort of believes in maybe crystals and things like that. But like, there might be something in it. I don't know. I've got a little healing stone in my pocket right now that's bringing me good luck, and I'm pretty sure it's working. And a year ago, I wouldn't have. and I don't know why. I read one of the reasons why, maybe I read a book by Rick Rubin. Was it The Creative Act, A Way of Being, something like that? I should really memorize the title because I recommend it to people.
Oh,
Again, that's the good thing about Google. People can just Google it.
yeah.
And but it's very spiritual. And I think that's probably one of the things I've learned the most, is that don't underestimate the power of the universe. A little sort of anecdote. One of Rob's favourite music is Ghetto House. There's a guy who produces Ghetto House from Chicago. He passed away the other year. I can't for the life of his name escapes me right now. But we were talking about, like, wouldn't it be great if me and Rob did a DJ set. He plays this sort of Ghetto House. I play UK garage, and he absolutely loves this stuff. He's been looking to buy more. It's quite hard to get hold of. There's not very many good condition copies. Loads of it comes from Chicago. Randomly, quite a well-known guy in the music industry walks in, and we get talking. He asks, "Oh, you don't happen to have any music on this label, do you?" And the music label is the music label that all this music was put on. That day, I had randomly found one in a place in the shop that it had no business being, and I knew that Rob wouldn't want us to sell it to anyone, that he would want it. Right. So I gave it to him, and I gave it to Rob. So it was sitting underneath the counter, and this guy comes in and says, "You haven't got anything on this record label, have you?" And I'm like, "Funnily enough, I found some of it out there. I found a record earlier, and but you can't have it." I said, "Because if I sell that to a customer before I offer it to Rob, he would kill me." And he's like, "Oh, do you know this guy?" And he's naming the biggest names in the scene, and he's friends with them. And then before you know it, we're talking about how we could potentially do a collaboration of some kind and do a night together for that music.
Yeah.
It was, he walked out the store and I didn't really understand what had happened in many respects. Like a load of these little, are they coincidences? Is it serendipity? I don't know. What, like, is it a lucky fortune stone in my pocket? I don't know. Like, is it just one of them things that happens? I don't know. But I don't think anyone knows. But if I wasn't in a record shop and if we hadn't have been having those conversations, then none of it would matter, and it wouldn't have happened. Yeah. And so we made that happen in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, absolutely.
None of us will know. DJ Dion is the guy who was the DJ, one of the biggest DJs in that scene, who he was friends with, who passed away. His name came back to me, and I thought I'd drop it.
I think putting yourself in the way of success is something that people underestimate. As you said, putting yourself in the right place at the right time, and you're not going to know it's going to be the right time or the right place. But I think there's also a little bit of, as soon as you buy a red car, you notice red cars everywhere. So as soon as you focus on something, you start to see the opportunities a lot more than you would have done before.
Yeah, definitely. And also, you never know where that conversation is going to come up. Yeah. I had a friend who asked me to help her out. She had an idea. She was working on the kids' book at the time. And she's like, "Oh, this person," she was self-publishing it. She's like, "Oh, the person at the printers is asking me all these questions about paper and stock and this and that." And I haven't got a clue. A few years before that, I'd released a colouring book, a stupid colouring book for adults. It was a little side project. It was something everyone thought was stupid. It was one of those things where no one was enthusiastic about it except for me. And all of a sudden, she's asking me questions. I'm like, "Yeah, I can speak to that guy." Mm-hmm. When I did a colouring book, I did all those things. Yeah. She's like, "Really?" And all of a sudden, I became more useful to her.
Yeah.
You can't, like, you'd never have known that. And going into it, I would never have known that. With that colouring book, a friend of mine was talking to a random person at a party about it. And that person said, "Oh, I write for Bazaar magazine. We'd love to feature that." And we got featured in a magazine. Yeah. So it went from just a silly idea in Michael's head to being in a magazine. It got 2 pages in the magazine, like full page spreads. 2 pages in a magazine. And Bazaar magazine used to have a fair circulation at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it went on to help me in a job later on. Like, you can't, I don't know.
Yeah, you never know.
You never know.
I feel like throughout the conversation, there's been a lot of good learning opportunities for me as much as anyone else, but certainly, hopefully, for the people that are listening. Is there any message in particular you would like to share with anyone who is thinking about, let's just say, starting a new thing? Because obviously the record thing is relatively niche, but just starting a new thing.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said it before, definitely just do it.
Yeah.
Just because you're doing it, even if you do it wrong, don't mean you can't do it again.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you can't change how you're doing it. Yeah. The doing the thing isn't the final thing cemented in time forever, then anchored around your neck, and then you can't ever do anything about it. Yeah, if you put something physical into the world, that thing exists. If you're not happy with it, you can put another physical thing out into the world. You show me anything you've worked on 10 years ago and tell me if you're happy with it, almost everyone will say no, they're not happy with it. You know, because you've changed a lot in that time.
Yeah.
The more you're doing, the more you speed up that cycle of learning, and actually the quicker you become less happy with your past work.
Yeah.
Because you've learned more, you've grown more. The more you're growing, if someone said to me, like, is there anything you do differently about this little project you did 10 years ago? And I'm like, oh no, that was absolutely perfect, and I learned loads. Then I might be like, well, maybe that person hasn't learned anything since then.
Yeah.
You know, like, there's that thing, have you got 10 years worth of experience, or have you got 6 months experience 20 times?
I like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, there's a lot of people, I've worked here 10 years. And it's like, yeah, that's a worrying sign to me in this place with your skill set.
Yes.
You know, it's not always it's not always a good thing. So I think,
it could also be you've just been doing it wrong for a long time, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it kind of doesn't mean anything. Oh, I've been doing this for 10 years, don't you know? You know, I don't know. What does it even mean? This is the thing, right? What does it mean? And to some people, it might be like, wow, that's like really impressive, right? But other people inside will be like me and just be thinking, mate, that's like, I think that's a bit sad, maybe. Like, you know, depending on what you do, like, people think of things differently, right? So just do it for you. That is the first thing. Like, just do it, get it out there, just do it for you. Also, really do think about what success might look like. With that colouring book that I mentioned, a friend of mine, Gideon, he's another person who's been really supportive of me, actually. I didn't name drop him, and it definitely should mention him. He said to me, like, what does success look like for this colouring book? And it's so wacky, and it was so silly, and it was so just, I don't know, like, it was such a weird thing to do. I just wanted to do it. And I just said, if just one person who doesn't know me and has no connection to me at all buys one of these, then I would be absolutely made up. And I don't want them to get it from a friend of mine.
Yeah.
I literally mean someone just stumbles across it in a shop and buys it. It never ended up in shops for various reasons. But when I sat there, when it got in Bazaar magazine, I sat there because it was on a website being sold. I was watching Google Analytics and watching all the different countries in the world pinging where people were accessing the website, and then watching the sales come in. And over the space of a fortnight, we sold about 350 copies, and I was ecstatic. I can't explain. Like, that first one, then the second one, like, I was hyped. It just broke even. Yeah, and I've got about 500 in my loft. Yeah, but like, it still is probably one of the most successful things I've ever done. You know, because it also taught me a lot. It taught me that people are always after content, more so now than ever.
Yeah.
If you're doing something good, other people want to talk about it, because what they do, instead of doing interesting things themselves, is they just talk about other people. You know, they just got an Instagram feed where they share. You get lots of people just sharing stuff. You know, and there's something important in that as well. But there's a lot more people sharing than there are people doing. So if you're one of the people doing, then you will be shared too.
Yeah.
And so people amplify you. They can't amplify you if you don't have anything to share.
Yeah.
You know, and just learn and don't take it to heart if things go wrong. Don't take it to heart if no one cares about your idea. It doesn't matter. If you love it, you do it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Part of one of the conversations I had recently was a thing around being enough, being clever enough, smart enough, successful enough. But I think the only person you really ever need to be enough for is yourself, because you can never be enough for anyone else because you don't know what their parameters are. If you can be enough for yourself, that's as successful as you ever need to be.
Yeah, and like I said, like something might be really important to you, and it means nothing to other people.
Yeah.
So if you're seeking their approval or endorsement of that, it may never happen, and yet it could be the thing that would make you the happiest in the world. So
Yeah.
what are you going to do? You're going to sacrifice your beliefs and your dreams, but because other people don't believe in it? Like that don't make any sense either, does it? Like, you know,
Yeah.
you just got out there and do it and learn and grow and be interesting. You know, read books, like I said, listen to music, listen to podcasts, watch old films, go for walks, like get out there, make art, write on bus stops, stick stickers on things, you know.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Where can people find you?
Come down to Recycle Vinyl in Dalston, Birkbeck News. I'm there Friday to Sunday. Come in, say hello. That'd be great. That'd be hilarious. Anyone who does that, I will give them a free record. Anyone who listens to this, quotes it, I will give them a free record to say thank you. Of my choice, obviously, not of their. Financially, there are certain things that are easier to give away than others. Apart from that, I think that's about it, really, to be honest with you. Social media-wise, I don't really post. I don't really engage. If you listen to music and you want to listen to some very average DJing, then there is an account called Bangers and Clangers on SoundCloud, a little project of mine and a friend's. And there's about 70 mixes on there, and there's loads of stuff, music that I love, that I've cobbled together. Loads of bangers, sometimes clangers.
And how about for the record creation? If people are interested in that, where can they reach out to you?
Yeah, I haven't really pushed it yet. It will be under the name Westboro Dubs, but it's not out there yet. I've got some hurdles to get over before I can really promote it. But I will be out flyering, probably flyer postering. I plan to wear a T-shirt that says "I will cut your records." And so, yeah, if you see someone wearing a T-shirt that says "I will cut your music," then it's probably me. So say hello.
Amazing, nice one. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, it's good to chat. Yeah, and you.